16 minutes after the top of the hour now, another hurdle for President Obama's health care reform. Now the Congressional Budget Office is saying that the plan would yield virtually no savings over the next 10 years. So with the numbers not adding up and the clock counting down, is the health care bill facing defeat? Well, on our panel today, Dr. Donald Palmisano, former president, American Medical Association, and the author of On Leadership, Essential Principles for Success. Tara Dowdell, a Democratic political consultant. And Peter Pitts, the president of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest. Good morning to you, members of the panel this morning.
Good morning.
All right, so the Congressional Budget Office comes out. Their analysts say, hey, let's look at this down the road. Let's look at the next decade. And Dr. Palmisano, they find out that this new health care reform program would not save any money in the next 10 years. Your reaction?
Well, the H.R. 32 is not going to save any money. 3200 is not going to save any money. None of these schemes are going to save any money until we put the patient back in control. Let the patient own the policy. Let the patient make decisions on their medical care with the doctor as trusted advisor. An example would be health savings accounts. What the patient needs to do, what the government needs to do is to give defined contribution, a certain amount of money, so they'll know at the beginning of the year what they'll spend at the end of the year. None of these schemes are going to work.
Tara, isn't that exactly the opposite plan of what the Democrats on Capitol Hill want? They don't want the patient necessarily to make all the decisions. They want the government to make the decisions, right?
No, I don't believe that's true. First of all, a lot of the way the system works right now currently is if you have a pre-existing condition, you can be denied coverage. So under H.R. 3200, which my old boss, Congressman Frank Pallone, is a sponsor of, that preclusion is prohibited. That puts the patients and people in general in a much better position. And furthermore, just because it's going to cost a lot doesn't mean we can't figure it out. We can figure out. I believe we have some of the brightest minds in the world working on this, and we can figure out how to get this done in the most cost-efficient way and still protect people. And that's what this is about.
Peter, one thing that I'm interested in as well, besides this report coming out talking about no cost savings, is the fact that the president met with the leader of the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, last week. What did you feel about that meeting? Is that supposed to happen between the president and this independent panel member?
When the president calls the head of the CBO into the White House, basically calls him on the carpet and tells him to do what the president wants rather than what the facts say, we're heading in the wrong direction. It just goes to show that the president is reacting rather than leading. The pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies, the hospitals all come to the table. They'll meet with the president. The president says, we're really glad you're at the table. We like your plan. Then members of Congress, like Congressman Waxman, say, we don't like this plan. And the president says, we don't like this plan. So that's why you have this out-of-control big government power grab that's trying to make Uncle Sam into Uncle Sam MD. What we need is leadership from the president.
But, Doctor, why would the president want to meet with the CBO director? Why?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the president. But one thing, we live in America, the land of liberty, and one of those liberties is the right to privately contract. That's the hallmark of the free enterprise system. And what we ought to do, whatever government decides they will spend, our government will spend, we ought to let the patient and the physician privately contract. That's the hallmark of the free enterprise system. Why do we want to have centralized control?
20 seconds.
No one's saying we can't have health care savings account. I have one, so I support that. But what we're saying is, what about those people who can't afford one like me? I'm well positioned. What about those people who 670 people a week are losing their jobs in South Carolina? What about them? They did all the right things. They played by the rules, and through no fault of their own, they're losing their jobs.
I got to wrap it up there, but we do have more time with our panel because coming up next, some major mixed messages on the stimulus. Democrats now contradicting each other on whether the first stimulus worked and whether or not we need a second one. And a blackjack dealer sues a popular Vegas casino. She says the secondhand smoke inside, it's making her sick. But can she win against that house? Welcome back, everyone. We seem to be getting some mixed messages on the stimulus, contradicting now what the president said it was supposed to do. And I'm back with our political panel. They also happen to be related to the health reform industry this morning. Let's start with Peter Pitts, the president for the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest, because I asked you in the break, Peter, will health care be a stimulus to the economy?
Well, healthcare reform is important, but as far as the stimulus goes, when the government makes a big power grab and the government becomes the major payer, the major interest of the government is saving money. Same thing happens in Europe as opposed to providing patient care. So a stimulus actually is going to reduce patient care. It's going to increase the tax burden. It's going to probably decrease the quality of care because the options available to doctors and patients are going to be reduced. So stimulus A isn't going to put money into the economy. It's going to put money back into the budget so the government can put forward more big government programs that don't work.
Dr. Palisama, let's go to the doctor on the panel. Will health care reform be a stimulus? Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, says yes, it will.
No, it won't. What it's going to do is put us deeper in debt. And the president said that if it adds to the deficit, he won't sign the bill. So based on that statement, we're not going to have a bill signed with the current bills that are being pushed in Congress.
Tara, let me talk a little bit about the second stimulus package, because it seemed, before I went on vacation at least, that was the talk on the Hill. Hey, a second stimulus is coming down the pike. Now, the president and the vice president and the Speaker of the House seem to be contradicting one another. They now seem to be saying, oh, wait, let's hold our horses here. We maybe don't need a second stimulus plan. Where do you see it heading?
I'm not sure there will be a second stimulus. I mean, President Obama, I think, has been pretty consistent saying that if for some reason we really, really needed one, then he would consider it, but that is not his priority. That is not something he'd like to see happen. And I think, you know, Democrats are very heterogeneous, so there's always going to be disagreements here and there over policy, and I think it's natural. I think it's actually a good thing.
You know, there's a difference, too, between a stimulus package and $1 trillion over 10-year health care package, which is just huge government spending. Spending in and of itself does not mean stimulus.
I have to say that while I was away, speaking of doctors, I had a lot of doctors come up to me and talk a lot about the health care reform, and many of them were very nervous about it. I'll let you have the final word.
Well, the original stimulus package had things in there that were not an emergency. The medical records, health information technology, that wasn't an emergency. There are lots of things we need to discuss about that before we spend money on that. Certainly, electronics, the records, very important, but we need to talk about privacy. We need to talk about many issues, and to rush that through just shows that a lot of thought wasn't given to it. You need to read the bill and understand the bill before you vote on it.
That's a novel thought, Doctor.
Yeah, that's
read
a good
the
thought.
bill.
Yes.
Maybe we should make that a mandate for everyone. Thank you very much to the panel guests this morning. Peter Pitts, Tara Dowdell, Dr. Donald Palmisano. Great to have all three of you today.
Thanks.
Thank you.